Dear friends, today we're going to share with you a truly unbelievable story about a baby who was born with a body that was half alligator and half human. Even before the child was born, the mother had committed dark, hidden sins. Sins so terrible that most people couldn't even imagine them. And when the baby finally came into this world, even the doctors were left completely shocked. The entire neighborhood was thrown into chaos. But what happened after the birth will truly leave you speechless. So, make sure to watch this video all the way to the end. And if the story touches your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you don't miss any of our future stories. Now, let's begin this incredible and emotional journey. In a quiet Muslim neighborhood on the outskirts of Warren, Michigan, lived a woman named Leila Samir. At 36, she was well known in the local masjid community. Polite, devout, always wearing her hijab properly, and selling homemade pastries at the weekend Islamic Center market. People respected her. Sisters called her Nabil out of affection. Though she had no children of her own yet, she spoke softly, greeted everyone with a salam alaikum, and often gave small reminders to the youth about modesty and taqwa. But Leila carried a secret. A long time ago, when she was younger, she had lived in Milwaukee. Her parents had passed away in an accident, and she ended up working in a cafe downtown. At first, it was innocent, but slowly, her life shifted. She fell into haram relationships, drawn into the nightlife she once judged. She committed zina multiple times with men who promised love and offered nothing but sin. Each time she got pregnant, she panicked. She couldn't bear to face the Muslim community with the shame. So, she ended the pregnancies quietly, illegally. She would take a bus late at night, and when the fetus came out, she would wrap it and bury it near the riverbank, praying it would drift away with the current. She did it once, then again, 7 times in total. She never told anyone. She made tawbah on her prayer mat, but returned to the same sins again and again. To the world, she was now a changed woman. She wore abaya, attended Quran classes, and even gave charity regularly. But inside her heart, guilt had become a permanent resident. One night, after disposing of the 7th fetus, she had a terrifying dream. She stood on the riverbank. The sky was dark. From the water rose 7 small figures, children covered in wet leaves and mud, their faces featureless. They pointed at her even though they had no eyes. One whispered, "We were your trust, Mama. Why did you abandon us?" Leila woke up drenched in sweat. She tried to ignore it, blamed it on stress, but deep inside, she felt her heart cracking. A year later, she married an older man from the community. His name was Mustafa Rahman, a 58-year-old widower who drove a halal poultry delivery truck. It wasn't love, it was convenience. He needed a wife to help manage his home. She needed to silence the whispers about her unmarried status. Soon after the wedding, Leila became pregnant again, but this time, she didn't even think of ending it. "I will raise this child," she whispered, one night after tahajjud, her hands resting over her belly. "Even if it's hard, even if I'm not worthy, Ya Allah, maybe this is my way back." But the pregnancy was not like others. By the 4th month, she experienced fevers that came and went. Her gums bled. Her dreams were haunted by faceless children swimming in murky water, staring at her womb. Her stomach didn't move like normal. It churned. It rolled unnaturally, like something alive and aware inside her. Neighbors noticed her change. She wasn't cheerful anymore. She rarely smiled. Her eyes looked tired, empty. But still, she came to the masjid, sold her sweets, and recited du'as with the sisters. Then came the night of labor. Just before Fajr, she screamed from the kitchen floor. Mustafa rushed to help, dialing the emergency number while cradling her head. By the time paramedics arrived, she had already given birth with the help of a midwife neighbor who happened to be awake for tahajjud. What came out of her shocked everyone. It was a baby boy, but his legs were not human. They were covered in grayish-green scales. His toes had claws, and from the base of his spine, a long reptilian tail curled. The midwife gasped. One of the paramedics stepped back, whispering, "Subhanallah," under his breath. The baby cried, not like a newborn. It was a guttural sound, part infant wail, part animal growl. Leila looked down and screamed, "That's not my son. That's not my child. Take it away." Mustafa, though stunned, picked up the child, wrapped him in a prayer shawl, and held him close. His face was pale, his voice trembling. "He's still ours. No matter what he looks like, he's our son." Leila turned her face away, trembling. She knew exactly what this was. Not a deformity, not a rare condition. It was Azaib. The consequences of her hidden sins had taken shape, and now it had a name: Nu. The ambulance ride to the hospital was silent, except for the strange growls of the newborn wrapped in Mustafa's arms. Leila sat curled up, refusing to look at the child. Her lips trembled with whispers. The doctors at Warren County Medical had never seen anything like it. Pediatricians, geneticists, and specialists were brought in. CT scans, X-rays, blood work, all returned confusing results. The baby's vital signs were normal, but his physiology wasn't. His lower limbs had hardened grayish scales, almost armor-like, and the tail was real, complete with vertebrae and muscle. No genetic disorder explained it. No known syndrome accounted for the combination. One young Muslim doctor muttered under his breath, "This isn't science, it's something higher." News cries echoed through the ward, strange and guttural. When he opened his eyes, they glowed faintly under the fluorescent lights. Light green, reptilian, with vertical slits for pupils. The nurses gave him space. Some refused to touch him. One Christian nurse crossed herself every time she passed the room. Mustafa stayed beside the baby the entire time, holding his tiny, scaly hand, whispering Surah Rahman over him. Leila, however, didn't step into the room for 3 days. She remained in her hospital bed, curled on her side, staring at the wall. Visitors came, sisters from the masjid, concerned neighbors, but no one was allowed in. She told the nurse to say she was sleeping, even when she wasn't. On the 4th day, Mustafa entered her room with Nu wrapped in a soft white blanket. Leila sat up in alarm. "Why did you bring him here?" "He's hungry," Mustafa said quietly. "And he won't take the bottle." Leila looked away. I can't even look at him." "He's your son. He's not normal." "No child is born a mistake," Mustafa said. "You think Allah makes mistakes?" Leila's eyes welled up. "You don't understand." Mustafa sat on the edge of the bed, holding Noah carefully. Then make me understand. And for the first time, she told him everything. Her past, the pregnancies, the silent bus rides to city clinics, the long nights by the riverbank, the tiny bodies wrapped in cloth and set into the current, the dreams, the voices, the faceless children. When she finished, she expected him to walk out, but Mustafa said nothing. He gently placed Nu in her lap and stood up. "You gave me the truth," he said. "Now, give him a chance." Then he left the room. Leila sat frozen. The baby was asleep, his small chest rising and falling. His tail twitched slightly beneath the blanket. She stared at him, his strange, scaled feet, his hands that looked human, his peaceful face. He didn't look like a monster now. He looked tired, tired from being rejected. Leila touched his cheek. It was warm, soft. The baby stirred and opened his eyes, those strange green eyes locked onto hers. "Nah," she whispered. "Did Allah send you to punish me or to save me?" The baby cooed softly and clutched her finger. A tear slipped down her cheek. That night, Leila fed him for the first time. She cried the whole time. When they returned home, things were different. Leila stayed inside most days. Nuh grew faster than normal babies. By 2 months, he could roll over and lift his chest. At 3 months, he crawled, not with his arms and legs, but slithering like a reptile, his tail balancing and supporting his body with unnatural control. Neighbors began whispering. Sister Zaina from down the block stopped inviting Leila to the halakha. One mother crossed the street when she saw her pushing Nuh's stroller. Children pointed. "Why does he have a tail?" Some adults said it out loud. "That's not a child. That's something else." Masjid elders met privately. They didn't expel Leila, but the message was clear. Stay low. Stay quiet. Mustafa tried to remain strong. He still worked his delivery job, still made jokes. But Leila could see the worry in his eyes, the loneliness, the heaviness of being the only one trying to hold the family upright. One afternoon, Nu began making strange sounds in his crib, gurgling whispers that sounded like words. Leila rushed in. He was staring at the wall, whispering in a soft tone. "Mama, Mama," she gasped. It wasn't a baby's mumble. It was clear. She picked him up and clutched him close. "I'm here. I'm so sorry, baby. Mama is here." Nuh looked up at her, blinking slowly. His tail wrapped around her waist like it had its own emotion. She didn't care anymore what he looked like. He was hers, but peace didn't last. One night, a knock came at the door. Mustafa opened it. 2 community leaders stood there. Their expressions were tense. "Brother Mustafa, Sister Leila, we came to speak on behalf of some families in the community." Leila appeared behind her husband, clutching Nuh in her arms. One of the men said, "There's been discomfort, fear. Some of the sisters say their children are having nightmares. They believe the baby, your son, is the cause." "We're not asking you to leave," the other man said, "but perhaps a change of place for a little while, a retreat, a quieter town, somewhere he can be raised away from attention." Leila said nothing. Mustafa clenched his jaw. "I see," he said finally. "Thank you." They closed the door. That night, Leila sat beside Nu's crib, whispering the words she once feared to say. I won't run again. I won't throw away what Allah gave me. Nu reached up and placed his tiny hand on her lips. His eyes glowed gently, not with evil, but with something deeper. Mercy. And Leila realized this child wasn't born to punish her. He was born to awaken her. 3 days after that uneasy visit from the community leaders, Mustafa made a quiet decision. He packed a few bags, loaded them into his old van, and told Leila, "We're leaving this weekend. We'll go to my cousin's place in rural Indiana, small town, no masjid, no judgment, just trees and silence." Leila nodded without a word. She had nothing left to defend. The eyes that once smiled at her during Jumu'ah now stared at her with fear. She couldn't bear walking past the masjid bulletin board where someone had anonymously scrawled, "Keep the jinn baby at home." They left early Sunday morning before Fajr, hoping no one would notice. Mustafa drove through the dawn mist while Leila sat in the back seat with Nuh, gently rocking him. The baby was unusually quiet. His green eyes focused on the sky through the window. His tail twitched slowly, peacefully. The house in Indiana was small. A cabin-style wooden structure nestled near a lake, surrounded by pine trees and silence. Mustafa's cousin had left it for them to use while he traveled abroad. No neighbors nearby, no visitors. It was the first time in months they could breathe. Leila set up a crib in the corner of the bedroom and unpacked a box of Islamic books. She placed the Quran by the window, where the morning sun would strike its cover. They began a new life. Here in the solitude of nature, Nu thrived. By 6 months, he could stand, though his stance was strange. His scaled legs curved slightly outward, and he balanced with his tail like a small creature adapted for terrain rather than carpet. Leila watched him in awe and fear. "He's getting stronger every day," she told Mustafa. "And smarter," Mustafa added. "He already recognizes my footsteps." But at night, strange things began to happen. Sometimes Leila would wake up and find Nuh standing at the window, his green eyes fixed on the moon. Other times, she would hear him murmuring in his sleep, Quranic phrases that no one had taught him yet. Surah Al-Ikhlas, Ayat Al-Kursi, the names of Allah. Once, she crept close to his crib during the night and heard him whispering, "Ya Latif, Ya Tawwab, Ya Ghafoor." She fell to her knees and wept. One afternoon, as Leila sat near the lake with Nuh in her lap, she whispered, "Do you remember them? The ones I lost?" Nu didn't respond. He just looked at the water. Then he reached out and touched her cheek. That night, Leila had a dream. She stood at the edge of the same lake, but the water was perfectly still, like glass. From beneath the surface rose 7 small figures, children, radiant, smiling. They weren't angry. They weren't empty like before. One of them stepped forward. "We forgive you, Mama. Nuh came to save you." When she woke up, her face was wet with tears. Nuh lay beside her, sleeping peacefully, one clawed hand resting gently over her heart. The next morning, Leila changed. She no longer avoided mirrors. She no longer jumped when Nu made odd sounds or moved in unexpected ways. She recited Quran with him beside her, sometimes even following her voice, with soft baby hums. She cleaned the house top to bottom. She cooked warm meals. She prayed every salah on time, not because she feared punishment, but because her heart longed for Allah's nearness. Her heart had stopped fearing Nuh She had stopped fearing herself. One day, as she was folding laundry, she heard footsteps. She turned and saw Nuh standing steady, watching her. "Mama," he said, voice soft but certain. It wasn't the first time he had said it, but this time it was different. His eyes didn't just look at her. They looked into her. She dropped the laundry and embraced him tightly. "You're not my punishment," she whispered. "You're my hope." From then on, she stopped hiding him. Every afternoon, she and Mustafa took Nuh for walks near the woods. If they passed hikers, they simply smiled and walked on. No more shame, no more fear. And something strange began to happen. Birds began to follow them. Animals, usually timid, stayed close. Deer lingered in the clearing. Foxes paused instead of darting away. It was as if creation itself recognized Nuh as something beyond human, yet not cursed. Mustafa once said, "He came from the darkest parts of our past, but maybe he's here to carry them into the light." One night, Leila found Nuh sitting by the open window, tail swaying gently, looking out at the stars. She sat beside him. He looked up at her and asked, "Mama, why did Allah make me like this?" Her throat tightened. She had waited months for that question. Still, it broke her heart. "Because sometimes Allah sends mercy in unexpected forms," she said. Nuh blinked. "So, I'm not bad?" She shook her head, smiling through tears. "You're not bad. You're chosen." He leaned his head against her arm and whispered, "Then I want to make you proud, Mama." "You already do." They sat in silence, mother and son, surrounded by wind and starlight. Leila knew the world might never understand Nuh, but Allah did, and for her that was enough. Nuh turned one in the quiet woods of Indiana, far from the watching eyes of their old community. Leila baked a small honey cake for him, decorated with pistachios shaped like a crescent moon. Mustafa carved a wooden toy boat and etched the name Nuh in Arabic along its hull. It was the first birthday Leila had ever celebrated for any of her children, and the first time she felt she truly deserved to. That evening, they sat by the lake together, the sky glowing pink and orange. Nuh clapped his clawed hands with joy as the candle flickered in the wind. Leila held him in her lap and whispered, "Bismillah," before cutting a slice. There were no guests, no noise, just nature, wind, and a peace that wrapped around them like a soft shawl. But peace doesn't always last forever. The whispers from Eastwood had spread farther than they imagined. A distant relative from the community, someone who had once been close to Mustafa, posted vague accusations on social media. A child born with a tail, a punishment for sin, or worse. May Allah protect us from hidden deviations. Photos surfaced. Rumors spread like wildfire. Before long, even local gossip blogs picked up the story. "The crocodile child of Eastwood," one headline read. Another dubbed Nuh the haram boy. Leila wept in frustration. She had created a sanctuary in the woods, a safe haven, but the world had reached its hands in anyway. Mustafa was furious. They never asked. They never saw his heart. "They don't care," Leila whispered. "They only see the tail." Soon after, a county child protection officer showed up at their door. A report had been filed. "We received an anonymous tip about a child in danger, possible neglect, or concerning abnormalities." Abnormality. That word sliced through Leila's heart like ice. Nu was in the living room, humming to himself while stacking blocks into a crescent shape. When he saw the woman at the door, he smiled wide and said, "Assalamu alaikum." The officer flinched slightly but managed a polite smile. "Hello, sweetheart." Leila invited her in, her chest pounding. The interview took hours. They reviewed Nu's health, development charts, speech ability. The officer's eyes lingered on the tail and scaly limbs. But when she asked him simple questions, Nua answered clearly, gently, and with surprising insight for a child his age. At the end, she stood and looked at Leila. "He's different, yes, but not unsafe. He's smart, he's loved, and frankly, that's more than I see in many homes I visit." Then she left and didn't come back. That night, Leila sat with Nub beneath the open sky. "Mama, why do people think I'm scary?" She took a breath. "Because they don't know Allah the way you do. They think different means dangerous, but Allah creates everything with a reason." He looked down at his feet. "So, am I a mistake?" She held his little face in both hands. "Never. You are not a mistake. You are my dua. You are the answer to prayers I was too afraid to say." Na pressed his forehead into her chest. "I love you, Mama. I love you more, Na." As seasons shifted, Na kept growing. Not just physically, but spiritually. By age 3, he could recite short surahs by heart. He asked profound questions about Jannah, about Allah's mercy, about why people fear what they can't understand. One day, a small group of Muslim families from a nearby town came to visit. But this time, they didn't come with judgment. They came with open hearts. One mother sat next to Leila, weeping. "My son is autistic. Our masjid turned us away too. They don't know what to do with children like ours." A father added, "We heard your child was different. We didn't expect him to be beautiful." Leila was speechless. And so, a new kind of community was born, not one built on perfection, but on empathy. They prayed together, shared meals, let their kids laugh and run together. Leila started leading Quran circles for the mothers. Nu had friends, real ones for the first time. The pain never vanished. The memory of the 7 lives she once discarded remained etched in her soul. But now, they weren't ghosts. They were forgiven. Allah had sent her a living reminder of both justice and compassion in one miraculous child. One evening, just before Maghrib, Nu sat beside her as the golden sun dipped behind the trees. "Mama," he asked softly, "do you think Allah forgave all your mistakes?" She smiled, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "He already did, because he gave me you." As the adhan echoed from the small speaker Mustafa had mounted near the porch, Leila raised her hands in dua. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but not from shame, from gratitude, because once she thought she had buried her sins beneath the waves of Lake Michigan. But Allah, in His mercy, had returned them to her, not as punishment, but so she could hold them again, love them rightly, and be remade through them. And in Nu's arms, she finally found peace. And that was today's powerful and emotional story. Sometimes our past doesn't stay buried, but even when consequences rise from the dark, there is always a path back to light. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you for watching. Until next time, Allah Hafiz.